of black-on-black killing has been going up since 2017. And in 2019, it went off the charts. My name is Michael Randall, and I'm with the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development. We work in some of the most violent communities in the United States. They tend to be poor, and they tend to be inhibited by Black people. Unlike most programs like your Boys and Girls Clubs and those national organizations like that, we focus on the hardcore. We focus on those that are on the corner, the drug boy, the stick-up boy, the smack you silly boy, the brick in your house boy, the thief. We focus on those who are addicted to the streets and fast money. It is because of how we approach changing the narrative of those that live in some of the most violent neighborhoods in their life. We teach them that fast money leads to fast time. What does that mean? That all that fast money is taken from you and your freedom is taken from you. In essence, they have designed the plan for you to do exactly what you're doing and make them rich. So every time they knock off a boy for $1 million, they take the million and you take your freedom. We teach those young people on the corner how to hustle and how to make money. We teach them that there's over 100 different ways that they can make money, owning their own business. We teach them how to monetize their talent into money. We are able to go in some of the most violent neighborhoods and have conversation with that person. Most of the neighborhoods we go into, the average person wouldn't go in overnight. In my circle, I'm called a boss. A boss is somebody that can go into some of the most violent neighborhoods and get respect. You get respect because you're from those neighborhoods. And you also get respect because you have developed the pathway forward to success, to changing the narrative in those neighborhoods, where now poor people began to use their talent to make money to change the narrative. So I interview what I call bosses from around the country. And the only reason I'm able to do it because I get respect from those people that's actually been out there doing the do, as this gentleman right here will tell you. So let's go, and I want to share with you this video of this brother who's from the streets and how he's turned his life around. In community development. As you know, we work with nonprofits and communities from around the country. Earlier, you heard about a friend of mine, Donnie Glover, and what he's doing in Baltimore. Across the nation, that's a crisis. When it comes to the number of black killers, it's going off the map. Not only is it going off the map, but younger and younger people are killing each other. And it's becoming normal. I say that the solution to the problem is within the problem itself. I want to introduce this guy, Kelly from Baltimore. Kelly is the type of guy that was part of the problem, and now he's part of the solution. So, Kelly, do us this favor. First, tell folks where you're from, and then tell us about your childhood, because you didn't have the best of childhood. Then talk about your young adult, and then your adult life, and then talk about what transformed you to be what you are now. So, take it on. And also, tell them what your neighborhood, your organization is and what it does. And you can do it in any order that you decide. So, Nation, here's Kelly from Baltimore City.
Man, how everyone doing? Thank you for having me on. It's an honor. And especially speak about our big brother and yourself as well, and the great work that y'all have contributed, not just to Baltimore City, but throughout the United States. And, I done my homework and I done my research, and I'm saying y'all just modest. So my name is Kelly Sparks. I'm the founder and CEO of Sons of Phoenix, which is a 50C nonprofit, and we deal with returning citizens, young ladies and young males, and young and adults, and that's basically what we do. Sons of Phoenix started out as an organization that geared towards young men, and then when I realized that it was I had a period in front of each letter. It was an acronym, meaning that I was just dealing with young men. Then I realized that once you put a period in front of a letter, it becomes an acronym. So it stands for Saving Others Never Stops. Not just sons, but Saving Others Never Stops. It has no gender, no race, no creed, no class, no color. So I realized that the things that I suffer from in my community, and I seen others suffer from, that by me used to being part of the problem, now I'm part of the solution. I grew up in Sandtown. I come off of Drew Hill and Pressman, Upton, Druid Heights, in that rich community with a lot of substance abuse, mental health, and trauma. Growing up in my household, I had a wonderful mother, but also I had a lot of pain and suffering in my household when I was young. At an early age, I was molested 5 times by 5 different individuals. Well, let me say there's 3 couples and 4 individuals. Man, woman, man, woman, man, woman, man, 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 man. So I took that pain, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So my mother was used to go to work early in the morning. I knew the trauma and the pain that was going to be, I'm saying it in my voice now, but I didn't know how to say it that way back then because I didn't know how to express myself. But I knew that when she was on her way to work, what was in store for me when she left, and I didn't tell her because I knew that she was the only one at that time taking care of the bills and everything. And I didn't want her to lose her job. And I didn't want to be caught, so I ran to the streets. And in my teenage years, I wound up selling drugs, getting caught up selling drugs, and made what they call hood rich, or whatever you want to call that. That I got caught up in dealing with my conditions and my circumstances. I wound up. I'm on a wire. I ain't saying what character. We ain't gonna do that. I caught 50 years for killing this. Yeah, my character's on the wire. I'm not saying it.
Okay, now I didn't know we had a superstar, right? So what am I saying? You can't get more real than this guy right here. That's why I want to introduce him to the world. And this is just the beginning. But my brother, I meant not to cut you off because you got a story to tell. Continue.
Oh, I didn't hear because it froze for a minute on your side.
Oh, I think you left off with
On the wire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and also I used to pay off the Baltimore Police Department. I used to pay them $10,000 every 2 weeks for hustling.
So you used to be a kingpin.
If that's what you want to call it, right? You know.
Well, from the bottom to the top, you can't get no better in terms of how do you change these neighborhoods.
Yes.
It's people like this that's got that history. They got the street creds. They got the compassion to come back and make a change. So I'm sorry, my brother, I keep cutting you off because your life is really like a real movie. So continue on. I think you stopped with.
All right, so
police department
and you know, paying off the police department, greasing a couple other hands. I choose not to say, but greasing a couple other hands, and that was my life. And I made the money. The money wasn't a problem. It was just I couldn't enjoy it. And one day, my life changed. I would say, everybody say for the worse, but I say for the better. And I apologize for a life had to be taken because a sticker boy came that ran down on me and tried to stick me up. And I took his gun and I shot him. I shot him twice. And I wound up getting 50 years for second-degree murder. First, they offered me natural life with no possibility of parole. I've never been locked up as a juvenile. I never stole a car. I was just trying to hustle. What I thought back then was to run away from pain and support my family. And they wound up putting me at 954 Fall Street, the Rural Penitentiary, walking around with death row. You know, I'm 5'5", so they put me in there with wolves, and I had to fend for myself. And I knew that after that first 6 months that I would never ever go back to jail. So I started to change my life, and I didn't know how to do it. I was just on the journey, and as I went on, I started 6 self-help groups, and that's so unheard of.
1 second, what was it during those first 6 months that changed you to a person that began to transform his life?
Because I don't know what happened, right? Because when I got locked up, I couldn't even spell my mother's name. You know, they said I was hyper. I had ADHD. They said I had lab pain pause, and they said it was everything wrong with me. But when I got incarcerated, it's like a light bulb went off, and I said, "Oh, this is what happened when you go down that road." And it was many different roads that a lot of people went down, but God gave me the what I perceive as God gave me the higher power gave me that fortitude not to look down on nobody, but I wanted to help people instantly. You know, so I joined a lot of self-help groups, but there's no such thing as rehabilitation and division of correction back then, and now on this new modern plantation. So I started my own self-help groups to start helping young men better themselves so they won't be part of that revolving door or that cycle, right? Whereas though each generation either incarcerated, strung out on drugs, or they beating their grandparents or their parents to the graveyard. So I had one group that I started with, though I knew that I was suffering from mental health and trauma, and it was something bigger than me. It was called MISS. It was called Men Incarcerated Stress Therapy, and I brought psychologists in and therapists in, you know, to help us deal with the pain and cope with the things that the mechanisms that we was up there going through. And I started youth reaching out, and I came home. It's like the more good I done in jail, the longer they kept me. Listen what I'm saying. The more good I done in jail, the more they kept me. They kept me 31 years. Never been locked up as a juvenile.
I think anybody that's from the hood know this brother is telling the truth. In jail, you're not supposed to do good. Yeah. So the more good you do, the longer you stay. You're supposed to get in there, act a fool, come out, and come on back in again. Yeah. That's the way the system is set.
But the crazy thing is that people, you know, that had, I'm going to say a little worse charges than me, right? And kept getting in trouble. They was getting parole like it wasn't nothing. And for years, I was frustrated, right? And to the point, for a minute there, I ain't know when I was coming home. I know I was coming home, but I just gave up, and I was just like, when it happened, it happened. So after getting 31 years, and a black good brother came in on the parole team, and he said, I apologize. He said, I studied your case, and I can't see why you've been locked up this long. And I said, what you mean? He said, I've read your case. Been locked up as a juvenile. They didn't do a good, thorough background check on you like they don't do a lot of us that come out these communities. And he said, and he apologized. He said, man, for what you've done since you've been in Division of Corrections. Not only that, in Division of Corrections, I was known as a peacemaker. Going around making peace. Because my thing was, I was telling brothers, the reality of a thing is that we want God to forgive us, but we can't forgive nobody else. And that was the premise, and that's one of the principles that I stood on. So
now tell us how you transformed that into an organization, and tell us about your organization.
All right. So I come out. I'm on fire. Listen, first of all, I'm a little paranoid because I'm thinking they're gonna come back and get me. When they release me on home monitor. So when I come out, the first thing I do is I hop in Cotton State. I come straight out of prison on home monitor, hop in Cotton State. They told me I couldn't go to Cotton State because I was on home monitor. I got that changed. I changed that law. Also now,
just 1 second. For those of you who are not from Baltimore, Cotton State or Cotton University is an institution of higher learning in Baltimore City. It's a black institution of higher learning up there on North Avenue.
Yes. And Cotton's known throughout the United States. They got them in Hopkins and University. They're pretty known. They well known. And I hopped in college. I took up business management. I started the process of me opening up my nonprofit because when I came home, I couldn't believe that what I was seeing. I've been locked up so long that technology was moving fast. Everybody was moving fast, and I was trying to catch up. But I also, in that, I seen a lot of us suffering from substance abuse. I seen a lot of young men and men dealing with emotional. They was more emotional than 13-year-olds. And I wanted to do something about it. And before I got locked up, I seen men gnawing. But when I come home, the women was gnawing. They had children. That was a problem to me. I wanted to know, how can I help? And also help the little young brothers and the little young sisters, because they was locking the little young sisters up just as fast as they was locking the little young brothers up. How can I aid and assist them in their endeavors and in their space, where as though they don't make the same mistakes, right? And give them a better chance at life, not just for them and their children, but their community and the city as a whole. And I started Sons of Phoenix. It was just crazy. When I started my organization, I wound up working for the mayor's office, coming home. I'm in charge of the squeeze. I'm one of the credible mentors that's in charge of the Squeeze Initiative. And I just started going around knocking on every door, asking them, can I speak to the youth? And one thing I learned is that a lot of the little young men that I was up there encountering and mentoring is that they were suffering from a lot of mental health and trauma. And this is what I mean by that. When we was young and we was coming up, and I know this for a fact because I suffered from it also, not counting the molestation and all that, but we was taught as young black men, right, that we're not supposed to cry.
Yep.
We was taught that, shut up, chump, shut up, faggy, and all these what you call words, right? Yeah. And the thing about it is that it sounded slick back then, but then you got these little young brothers that they not supposed to cry, so they got all this anger.
Yeah.
And misaggression that they can't get out. They can't express themselves.
Just want to jump in 1 second, especially for those folks who not understand the inner city. The so-called ghettos, the so-called streets, was created by the government as a result of greenlining. What they did was, when black community was thriving and they was really doing good, they came in and built an invisible circle. And in that invisible circle, They made sure that they would devalue the property, create a situation where blacks couldn't move out, increase credit in the community by paying outrageous types of monies. They actually was able to create a situation where they created the ghettos because all of the energy that was there, the people that had business and everything came out. They created a situation where they drained the wealth out of the black community. They made sure that you couldn't access capital. They devalued the houses. They put in all of these toxic factories in the city and black communities because no place else you could put those things. That's further divided the community. So where you had a community with businesses and people and all that good stuff, what they did was to realign the black community to create a situation where they contain blacks, create a situation where they continue the second-class citizenship, to create a situation to continue economic slavery by making houses that's in the community devalue. A house in the black community sells for almost 50-60% of that in the white communities. Then they threw the drugs in, then they threw the guns in, and now what you have now is a poor community. They created the hood, they created the streets, and we fell right in it. That's how the ghettos was created. Contrary to popular belief, it was not created by black communities. Black communities were striving back then. But when the government came in 1930, they created what we see now. They brought in the guns, the drugs, and more importantly, they controlled the culture. Go ahead, my brother.
So it was a problem. So I'm talking and I'm listening. Because the thing was everybody was talking at them but wasn't really listening. And they wanted them to do what they wanted them to do instead of being helping them in their space, being patient with them with decency and respect and help them on their journey, not our journey. So I understood that early on when I came home. So I went out there to start assisting them. I go up on the corners. I offer them jobs. Everybody don't want a job. You got a lot of them that want vocational training, job readiness, drug treatment, whether inpatient, outpatient, education. Also, you'd be amazed how many people, not just in Baltimore City, but throughout the United States, is not walking around with a ID. And in Baltimore, we say a Maryland ID, Social Security card, and birth certificate. So I assisted them in getting that, right? And helping them in their
endeavors. Can I just cut you off for 1 second? Mm-hmm. What that brother is saying is it is consistent in poor communities throughout the United States. It is the norm that brothers don't carry ID.
Yes, and nor do they really see any value into it until they run across a situation, right? Or they getting themselves together, or they need to do something with government that they need their ID and their social and their birth certificate. So we helped them with that, and well, I helped them with that at that time, and I wound up getting people that assist me to help them also, and we just started doing that consistently. I'm talking about when I say consistently, I was doing that 6 days a week, not 5 days a week. Because Sunday I was going to service.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
What does your organization need? But before you answer that question, let me share with folks around the country. If we're talking about making an impact and the changes that we want to bring to get to the desired results of reducing violence, but at the same time saving our young people, then we have to invest and evidence-based, data-driven programs that works. This brother is an example, and I only bring you folks from around the country that I see as having the ability to have a national impact. This brother is one of those brothers. When you think about it, this brother is both a critical and a creative thinker combined together, and living a life has presented him with the situation to make a real change in this community. So I'm saying, my brother, what do you need and how can people get to you? Do you have an email or anything of that nature? How people can touch base with you? Because I think what we have here is the beginning of a national model.
All right, they can reach me at kellysparks45@gmail.com. Let me repeat that again. It's KELLYSPARKS45@gmail.com. Or they can just call me. Everybody say I'm crazy because I pick up my phone all the time, but I'm a businessman. So, and I'm in the business. I'm a businessman, but first and foremost, I'm in the business of my people. You can call me at 443-943-4467. That's how they go, get in contact with me and communicate with me. And also, if you want to know anything about my organization, the Sons of Phoenix, you can look it up at sonsoffphoenix.org. And you'd be amazed the wonderful things that we do. We're not an ad-based organization. We think for the future. We think present. And in the future, we make leaders. Right now, I have
Hey, my brother, you sold us. Now tell us where we can send some money. Let us know what you need. Money, a building, whatever. See, you're so passionate what you do. You just do what you do. But now I want to turn you on that fundraiser side because you're the CEO. So in addition to running the program, you're the face to bring in the money. Go ahead, my brother. Get it.
All right. So you go on the website and donate money. We need space, and we need space. We need a building. That's first and foremost. We need a printer. We don't need a office printer. We need one of them commercial printers because we print out so many copies and do so many things for the whole community. And if you want to send money, you can just call me or email me, or you can go on the website.
So do you have PayPal?
Do I have PayPal? Yes, on the website.
Yeah, good. So folks, listen to what he's saying. He already set up already. So if you go to his website, you can fund in a number of different ways. I'm suggesting that, and listen up, I'm suggesting that be the type of person. You from the streets. You're about it. You know how it is, and you made it out. You're good to go. But so many others have been left behind. And we all we got. That means we all we got. We got to pay for it. So here's an opportunity to put money in this brother's hand to change the narrative. Because African American brothers and sisters are dying at a rate that's ridiculous. Let me give you some game on that. African American communities, in terms of death, are 30 times the world population. You can go to any location in the world, Africa itself, and the rate of murder is not as high. We all know it's because of generational trauma. That's why we are the most violent, according to them, in the nation. But they don't talk about how we got here. How we were forced into slavery and led to this trauma that we see today. So we got a lot that we need to do in order to save our communities. And what we're not going to do to save the community, as much as I love them, is march all the time and say we should overcome. We can't. We have to start talking about what are strategies and approaches that we can put in right down in the heart. Now, my commitment to this brother is to work with him to increase the capacity of his organization. African American organizations are by far the least funded. and then at least fund it because they don't have the skill sets necessary to take them to that level where they can compete against all these organizations that's been around forever. But at the end of the day, when you look at outcome, it's the same way. So what we do is to build those skill sets in terms of theory of change, logic model, business plan, everything they need to compete and make a real difference. So I'm telling y'all tonight, and I'm predicting, y'all looking at a superstar right here. But here's what's important. I want you to meet him tonight, and then after he finishes the training, see how he comes back with a different perspective. And that different perspective is that he's going to be looking at things a little bit different. He's going to understand, okay, this is how the moving and shaking roll. I need this, I need that. And now I got all that capacity. So no matter who I go in front of, a lender, or a bank, an investor, or anybody that got money, he can convince them that I'm very competitive, very structured, and I understand how to get things done. Anything else, my brother, you want to say before we get out of here tonight? You inspired the first time I saw you on Donnie's show. I always peeping in Donnie's show. Most of the time, because I'm moving and shaking just like Donnie, right? Most of the time I'm in a meeting. But with technology, I still can be in a meeting to pop in and say hello and to give a little comments like that, right? So Donnie always brings to the table some really impactful folks. I think Donnie is a giant among giants, and that he don't discriminate from where you come from, but he tries to empower you. And Donnie, like I said, he's still back in the hood, still back in Sandtown. Even though I left Sandtown, I'm still in the hood. Same hood, just a different name. And you know that no matter where you live at in the United States, right? You know, what they got for us is the hood, man, right? The projects. But from here, what I've been able to do is to say, especially the people in the project, that it's not where you are, it's where you're going at. I say it used to be a time when I was pulling those big time dollars. I was head of organizations and what have you, right? So it's not where you're at, it's where you're going at. I say sometimes God puts us in a situation because you need to share a little sunshine to move you to the next generation. And since I've been here, I've been teaching folks how to start a business. That's unheard of. You're not supposed to teach young people how to start a business. Well, you're saying something? I can't hear you.
No, what I was up there saying is that you're most definitely right, and on how you perceive things, and especially about what you say about yourself and Donnie, right? Just very impactful, right? And anything I can say that in my closing, right, will be that failure is not an option.
Okay.
Failure is not an option. No, because they teach us about the first law of the universe, which is motion. The second law of the universe, right, is order. But they never teach us the third law of the universe, right? And this is one of the principles that I operate on is discipline.
So I'm looking forward to working with this group. You know, I always tell young people, especially those young people on the corner, that I always share with them that everything is good for you. That is, everything is good to you. It's not necessarily good for you. So we attract those young people off the corners and people in general that's part of that environment because we use techniques to monetize that talent so they can create their own generational wealth. I've been blessed to be able to jump into neighborhoods in New York and Philly, New Jersey, California, and the list goes on, DC, Baltimore, because what I bring to the table is somebody that's been in those streets and found a way to create an opportunity that leads us to a path where the unnecessary pain and misery that's experienced in poor communities every day is stopped. And you can't do that if you don't have street creds. The first thing that people ask me, especially when I'm popping in a city that I'm not familiar with, they ask me, what's your background? And as soon as they know your background, then they ask you, what can you do for us? And as soon as they ask you what you can do for them, you lock on. And I'm talking about these people that I'll be able to have a conversation with. These people have been stick-up boys. They've been killers. Well respected in their neighborhoods. That's why I'm able to move like I move, because of the relationship that I build. Again, the solution to the problem is within the problem itself. The program that we have in West Tampa, for example, is a program that focuses on national violent intervention programs that are best practice, evidence-based, and data-driven. This changed the narrative on how do we deal with the violence that's in our community. The traditional way of dealing with the violence is using a girls and boys approach to dealing with kids that are so hard. In other words, we cannot use middle class approaches to solve issues in the most violent communities around the nation. Your boy and girls clubs and those other clubs, groups that's funded nationally, focus on those kids who are about to, but not having crossed over to the streets, not having gotten that addiction to the streets. We focus on those who are addicted to the streets. And that's why we focus on those organizations like the gentleman right here that fight the battle to save our neighborhoods. That's why we provide them with the infrastructure so they can go after the same dollars as your boys and girl clubs and these other organizations, mostly white, but mostly also organization that uses a middle class approach to solve an intercity problem. That you can't reach, nor do you want to reach. That means what happens most time in the poorest of the neighborhoods, the ones that are the worst of the worst, are left behind and they preyed upon. Our approach changed that narrative by using people that's been in those streets, got street creds, but more importantly, they smart. They know what they want. The only thing they need is somebody to give them that structure to sell the deal. So I was happy to bring this brother on. As you know, I've been talking with people, what I call gangsters from around the country. This brother is out of Baltimore. I think 2 weeks ago, I was talking to a brother out of Chicago. If you remember from The Wire, And this guy that used to be a dope dealer, and he got out of the drug game. And I can't think of the guy's name. He got out the drug game and then went into corporate America. And I forgot, he was definitely a person, and I can't think of his name right now. Y'all know it. He was part of the wire. Very smart, drug dealer, killer. But he made a deal to sell his drug operation, and he walked into the door of Bank of Corporate America. What we're going to teach this brother right here is how to walk into the doors of corporate America and build those relationships to bring in those critical dollars to fund his program. We're talking about teaching them how to talk to lenders, investors, politicians, neighborhood groups, the faith community, institutions of higher learning. All of those different entities and different categories of folks. Our focus is to teach them how to approach each of these and work with them in designing a business plan, strategic plan, operational plan, a theory of change, a logic model, a financial management component. All those things necessary to create the infrastructure that corporate America expects when they give their money. So I want to thank this brother for giving me an opportunity to have a conversation with him, and we're going to change the narrative. But you can only do that by investing in Black communities. Please, I encourage you to invest in this young man organization so that he can do what he did and change the narrative. I respect the man because he's straight from the streets and he understands how to solve the problem because he's both a critical and curated thinker.